Are you highly ambitious, but do you also struggle with being lazy and procrastination? Don't worry, my friend. There is hope. I don't know about you, but I for one am sick and tired of those productivity gurus just wiggling their fingers saying, well, you need to work 72 hours per day or else you are a loser. Right? That kind of stuff. It is bullshit. So what I want to do in this video is give you the 5-step framework to achieve more while working less. And then as a bonus, I'm gonna give you the way to get more motivation, to get more discipline, and to make progress fun and rewarding. So first of all, who am I to give you this? I used to struggle with being disciplined for years of my life. When I was 18 years old, what I knew about discipline was how to spell it. That's about it. I didn't have a single ounce of discipline within me because I never learned how to work hard for something. And by the way, it is a muscle that you train just like any other in your body. But the thing is, over the years I had to develop strategies to get myself from point A, where I was, to point B, which is my goal. And what I want to do in this video is share those lessons with you. By the way, my name is Michael, and this channel is basically the way for me to give the content and to create the content that I wish I had when I was 18 years old, or 20 years old, or 25 years old. So basically all of the stuff that I wish I knew, but had to figure out by trial and error. I'm creating this so that you don't have to figure everything out yourself. With that said, let's dive into the first thing, which is the biggest misconception around achieving more. The general and mainstream idea is, if you want to achieve more, you need to do more. More. Just put in more hours, more work, more this, more that. However, I want you to do the opposite. To remove from your life. So this is an interesting question that I want you to ask yourself. For now, just write it down somewhere as you watch this video. The question is this: if I could only subtract things to achieve my goal, how would I go about doing it? So to give you an example of this, if you want to make more money, you would have gotten advice like, oh, just start a side hustle, just work more hours, get a second job, and all of those things are about doing more. However, what if you cut your expenses? Maybe you have 3 video on demand services like Netflix and you cut out 2 of them. Maybe you are wasting some of your time and you can get a better deal on your insurance or your gas or your electricity or whatever it is for you. Guess what? If you cut out the dead weight, you now save more money by default. If you want to get in better shape, you could add exercise, for example. However, what if you just cut out the cookies, the midnight snacks, the fast food, and all of the unhealthy things you're eating that make you gain weight? You will lose weight, right? It's that simple. If you have this amount of calorie intake, this is your expense, you will lose weight. That's the simple thing. So write those things down and then cut those out of your life. Those bad habits, they are basically just pulling you backwards while you are trying to walk forward. It doesn't work. It's kind of like a balloon as well. Those hot air balloons, they basically float, but they are tied to the ground with certain strings. Those strings are your bad habits. And once you go, you snip them, now suddenly the balloon takes off without any more inputs, without any more hot air. It just takes off because it's not restrained anymore by those ropes. Find those ropes and cut them. That's going to be the first step in this process. The second thing is to maintain your focus. And the best example of this I can give you is that thing in the sky, that big bright orb, aka the sun. If it's a nice sunny day, you can go lay in the backyard or on the beach somewhere, just stand for hours and you'll be a-okay. However, if I held a magnifying glass above you and I direct that sunlight into a single point, that is gonna burn anything in sight. So you have the sun, unfocused, and it's perfectly fine. It delights your day. When it's focused, it is incredibly powerful and it burns everything in sight. So what you can learn from this is the following. If even the sun with its intense power cannot burn anything unless it's being focused, what gives you the idea that you can get everything done all at once without being focused on one thing. So we think that focus is just like eyes to the screen while you're working. That is only one level of focus. The more important part is what you're saying no to. Because let's say that you work your job and then at night you work on a side business, right? So you get home and it's like 5 hours focused on only one thing over here. But then shiny object syndrome kicks in. There are parts of this business that are gonna be frustrating, that are gonna feel difficult. And that makes us tempted to say, well, this opportunity is kind of difficult. Let me go over here to this other opportunity, or here to this other opportunity. And now you had 100% focus here, but now you have like 30%, and then 20% over there, and 20% over there, 15 over there, and another 15 over here. It doesn't work because you diluted your focus. So right now, the best thing you can do for this is to write down your top 20 goals for life right now. And then circle the 5 most important ones. Write those on another piece of paper and just set fire to the first one or tear it up. You don't want to look at those other goals for now. And once you have this list of 5 things, now you're going to pick one that is going to get almost all of your effort. And I'm saying almost because at some point you need to maintain certain things. If you say goodbye to all of your friends and family for like a year, that can ruin your relationships. So maybe you go and do something once a week instead of once every day. So that now you have more mental power, more mental capacity left over for the one thing that you're going to focus on. So find things you can maintain it. If it's your physique, for example, rather than going for an hour to the gym every day, maybe you go once every 2 days for like 45 minutes. You cut it back so that it's maintainable rather than growth on the secondary things. And this way you have more time over, you have more energy, more resources to focus on the number one thing. That is the crucial element for this to work. Because the real distractions aren't the bad habits. You already know those are bad for you, even if you haven't yet kicked them out. The real thing that you want to watch out for are those things that sound like great ideas, but that hold you back from what you really want to achieve, that one thing. Now, the third thing, now that you have your one goal, is to figure out what can I do that's really gonna move the needle to get ahead. So let me give you an example of how I messed this up when I was younger. When I was like 17 or 18, I had my own blog where I was writing articles and I was trying to build it into a business. And in order to like make that a business, what I had some training programs, some online videos that I was selling. And then in order to get people to that, I was giving away like a free report, a free PDF. Guess what? I spent hours creating the PDF. And then I spent more hours creating like 7 different things. Like, oh, if you struggle with this thing, get this PDF. If you struggle with this other thing, get this PDF. And I was making a lot of these things on the back end. Problem? I was getting like 2 or 3 visitors per day to my website. So even if I had the best thing in the world, nobody knew that I existed. That's a bit of a problem in business, right? So oftentimes we get caught up on things that we know how to do well, or we get caught up in things that are easy, that are simple. But those are rarely the things that really move the needle forward. It is like playing in a sandbox here, where everything is safe, everything is comfortable, and our mind wants to go to what's easy, what's fun, what's comfortable, and what's simple. So your mind wants to go that route. However, I'm pretty sure there are also things out there that challenge you, that make it so that you are like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. And those are usually the things that really get you from where you are to where you want to go. So the way to get out of this is, again, take out one of these things. Very simple tool, it's a pen, if you're just listening to my voice. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna write your goal at the top and then write down a list of everything you can do to achieve that goal. Now you have maybe 10 things or 20 things or 50 things. And what you're going to do, just like with your goal selection, what you're going to do is you're going to make a bet. Write down the 5 things that you think will have the most important impact on you achieving your goal. So in the example I just gave, it wouldn't be just writing more PDFs. It would be marketing so that more people saw my website and putting myself out there. So maybe it was creating more content for other platforms like Facebook groups. Maybe that was just going direct messaging people who could help me reach more people, right? So identify those things. Because if you work 1 hour on a critical task, that is going to get you way more bang for your buck than working 10 hours for something that doesn't really work at all. So identify your core activities and focus like 80% of your effort on those things. Once you identify them, you will start achieving way more than most people, because most people are just flowing through the motions. They're just doing what comes across their desk at the moment. They just do what is easy in the moment. They just do what is convenient. And once you focus on the few things that are inconvenient, that are a bit difficult, but that get you a huge result, you will get ahead of 95% of people. Step number 4 is all about how to win by default. So let me ask you a simple question. When is it more easy to resist temptation? Is it when you're in the heat of the moment? Or is it when the temptation isn't really there because you dealt with it beforehand? Obviously, it's the second situation. So for this, let me tell you a quick story. There once was a Greek hero, Odysseus, who fought in the Trojan War. If you haven't seen it, Troy is a great movie about this. Can recommend. But the thing is, he was sailing back to his homeland of Ithaca. And there were rumors in the Greek mythology about the sirens. Basically, if you're not familiar with it, think mermaids, but they had mesmerizing voices. And any man who would hear these voices would fall into a sort of trance. They would jump overboard from the ship into the icy cold water and they would just drown. However, Odysseus, he really wanted to hear these siren songs. So what did he do? He went and sailed past where the sirens were. However, beforehand, he had his men tie him to the mast so that he could still hear it, but he couldn't act upon those impulses. And then he had his men, of course, plug their ears with wax or something like that so that they wouldn't hear it. And so this way they could sail by safely with Odysseus hearing the song and nobody falling victim to the effects of that trance. Now, this was thousands of years ago, so what does this have to do with you right now? When do you think it's easier to avoid eating snacks? Is it when the bowl of cookies or snacks or candy is right there on your desk? Or when it's somewhere in a cupboard downstairs in the kitchen? Or I'll give you a third option, when it's not in the house. And if you wanted to get a snack, you need to go outside, you need to put on your coat, go to the store, get it, go back, and then you can have it. Right? In the first situation, you will eat a lot of those snacks. Second situation, you're way less likely to do so. Because the thing is, these things, our eyes, they create a lot of our habits, both good habits as well as bad habits. To give you one example of this, is maybe you've been in the grocery store, you're just strolling along, like everything is good, but then suddenly you look down at your cart. And what you see candy, you see cookies, you see ice cream, you see other unhealthy foods. And you're like, how did this stuff here get in my cart? And the truth is, you weren't snackish. You didn't want those things until you saw them in the aisle. Maybe you saw this huge life-size display and you're like, okay. And almost instantly you just grab it without even realizing you're doing it. So the more you can get things out of your sight so that you don't see it, so that you don't hear it, so that you don't feel it, smell it, the more you can get that away from you, the easier it is to resist those temptations. Because you're not going to be in a position where you need them. And this is just a long way to say, change up your environment. For example, if you constantly get distracted by your phone, go to your settings, go to your notifications, turn off all notifications. Boom. 30-second task, but now you won't get interrupted for hours and days even. All because you did one simple step where you set yourself up to win by default. Another example of this, like I shared, would be making sure that the unhealthy food you want to get rid of, like we talked about in step 1, is not in the house. If you want to avoid falling victim to certain websites, go and use an app blocker, a site blocker, and block those things. So that even if you try to, even if you are in this position where you need to use your willpower to resist, and you can't, and your fingers go and type, guess what? It then says website blocked. Congratulations, you won, because you set up your environment in a way that's cohesive towards achieving your goals. So once again, take out a pen and write down what you can do in order to set yourself up for success, to get rid of your temptations. And on the flip side, what you want to do with the good behavior that you do want is make it visible. Create an inspiration stack around you. For example, that's the reason I have these 3 things behind me. I can look at it and be like, you know what, I can go a little bit further. It is something that inspires me. There's one scene from The Simpsons where Mr. Burns puts this sign in front of Homer at his job that says, "Don't forget, you are here forever." And what Homer does with this is he takes pictures of Maggie, his newborn daughter that's somehow already 30 years old. I don't know, weird stuff. And then he just posts them all over his board. And now it's full of pictures, and the text that remains underneath them is, "Do it for her." That's a way to transform your environment in order to get more done without the need for willpower. Because once you're there, once you see it, it automatically inspires you. Do those kinds of things to your environment where you create barriers around the things that you don't want to do, where you get them out of your sight so that you don't have the temptation. And for your good habits, you do the opposite. You make it easy. So maybe you put your gym clothing right like over the remote if you're inclined to watch Netflix normally. You just take your remote, put it down, put your gym clothing on top of it. Now it's more visible and it's more easily accessible. And then create inspiration as well and remove distractions, remove hurtful websites, apps, etc. And as you do that, you will find that your behavior is automatically going to steer into the right direction. Now, the 5th thing, and this is probably going to hurt a little bit, is that you need to have the right social circles around you. Because just think of that idea like the balloon, right? It naturally would take off, but it is tied to the ground with these ropes. So maybe you want to get in better shape, and then every Friday and Saturday night your friends say, "Oh no, you can forget about that for tonight, just go out drinking." And you drink way too much and now you have a beer belly and you don't feel good because the next day you don't go to the gym because you're hungover. Or maybe it is that you want to work on your side project on Saturday night, or you want to learn a new high value skill and your friends say, "Oh no, come on, there's just party. Just forget about that thing, you can do it later." And those are like the ropes of that balloon, where you want to move this way, but your friends pull you back. And as harsh as it sounds, in some cases you need to either limit time with those people or to cut ties with them entirely. Because the alternative is you get dragged down more and more and more. Because like we shared in the beginning of this video, you are here because you are ambitious. Most people don't share that kind of ambition. Maybe like 5% of people are actually ambitious. And most people are just dreamers. So you can't let people whose motivation, whose inspiration, whose ambition is smaller than yours, you can't let those people influence what you do, the actions you take. And yes, this means that you're probably going to be lonely for some time. Because at some point you're going to dissociate with the people over here who just want to play video games, drink, do drugs or whatever, right? You're like, I don't want to be like that. I have higher inspirations over here. But then the people who are over there, they look at you and are like, well, that's a bit of a loser right now. So if you want to hang out with ultra successful business people, for example, and you're just starting out, there is a gap between where you are and where they are. And over time, you're going to bridge that so that you move away from those people and towards a new group that you're going to find. But that is going to take time. Because you need to also become the person who's ready for that new friend group. And in a movie, this would be like a 3-minute montage. In real life, this can take a few months to sometimes a few years, where you don't really fit in any of those groups, while you're moving towards people you really want to be like. That will take time. But for now, try to spend less time with the people who dissuade you. Because if people really pull you away from your goals, are they really friends? Or are they just enemies you have fun with? That's a question that I want to leave you with on this note. That is the 5-step process you can use right now to get more done without working harder. But I also promised you at the beginning that I'm gonna give you a way to get more motivation, to get more discipline, and to make more progress in a way where it's more fun and enjoyable. And that step is to reinforce your actions. Because here's the thing with ambitious people. They have ambitious goals, right? And so if you're here like, I want to impact 1 million people, right? That's something for me. I know that this goal is years probably out into the future. It is very far away. And what happens? The further away your goal is, the less motivated you're going to be. Because it's so far into the future. This creates this sense that, oh, I've got time. I don't need to do it right now. And laziness kicks in, procrastination kicks in, and you just feel less and less and less motivated with every passing day, every passing week, every passing month. Those huge goals into the future, they're also very complicated, right? If you have a big goal, there's going to be a lot you need to do to achieve it. And that makes it more intimidating. So what you would do with this is you would take a huge goal and you would put it forward towards you into the present moment. So the way you can do this is if you have like a 1,000-step plan ahead for your future, focus on step 1, maybe step 2, right? Those 2 steps, make it small, make it manageable, so that on a daily basis you have small steps, while over a lifetime you have huge goals. That contrast is what gets you success. So the way I did this with my blog was I said to myself, I will write a 2,000-word article today. And then it felt intimidating and I didn't do it. I procrastinated. But then I said, you know what? I'll write 1 paragraph. So I sit down, I write a paragraph, and once I've written that one, I am off the hook. I can literally say, you know what, I don't feel like this, I'll go do something else. But once you have written down the first paragraph, now the second one flows more easily, and the third one, and the fourth one, and before you knew it, I had this entire article written. All because I focused on one thing, just getting started. So that's how you avoid overwhelm. That's how you avoid some of the fear associated with your big ambitious goals. But then the second part of this formula is to reinforce your actions. So for example, there has not been a single time when I felt like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym right now. Not a single time where I felt that excitement. But guess what? I force myself out the door, and then once I go, once I'm there, once I'm doing the exercise, I'm like, yes, I am doing it. Great. And now I reinforce this idea that if I continue doing this, I will get in the best shape of my life. So what I do is I take my goal, I bring it into the present moment by tying it into my actions today. Because the truth is, people think that if you're motivated, you're gonna make progress. In reality, it's the reverse. If you can make progress, and if you can see progress, you will get more motivated. Because nobody is gonna feel great when they get their ass handed to them. If you try something new and you fail utterly, that doesn't feel good. But if you do it a few times, And now you can see I was here, like down here at the skill level. Now I'm a little bit better over here. You're like, yes, I learned something. Because growth is what leads to fulfillment. And the more you can inspire the cycle of making things small, getting started, celebrating your wins, seeing your progress, the more motivation you're going to get, the more discipline you're going to build. Because, like I said, it is a muscle, and the more willpower you get. And then finally, there is one magic ingredient that makes all of this 10 times easier. If you do this one thing, you will start changing your behavior almost automatically. That is my secret to productivity. And if you want to get that, click the link below this video. Get it right now, and you will be glad that you did. By the way, if you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up and get that free training below this video.